Omaha's news leader, chronicling the stories and people making a difference in our community. This is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Julie Cornell. Each time I share a story about Nebraska's child welfare system, my email box is flooded. Frustrated caseworkers write in. Parents of kids in the system feel there's no accountability. And teens themselves reach out saying that they've been forgotten. This morning, we start with the troubled system itself. Nebraska is rethinking child welfare. It has to. A national consultant is leading a group of stakeholders to fix Nebraska's child welfare system. KETV Newswatch 7 has learned that sloppy paperwork is responsible for holding up cases of children in foster care and keeping them from stable, permanent families. It means the cases of almost 150 children were delayed.
Our garden is like a memorial garden, so that's been the part that helps me heal.
Healing is what encourages this former foster child to grow.
They usually make it straight to the ceiling or to the top of the roof, huh?
When Clarissa Siebrecht was 12, she was launched into foster care.
I had some behaviors and I disrupted. I ran away.
Her mother struggled from heroin addiction and gave birth to 13 children, all of them spinning into the system.
Mommy, I got it!
Now 35, Clarissa is a married mother of 5. These are 4 of her little girls. Clarissa served as a child welfare caseworker for 5 years.
Oh, I got it.
She previously worked for Promise Ship, a private provider in Nebraska, one of many transitions over the past dozen years of Nebraska's tumultuous turnovers.
I feel like we are in the state of emergency, to be honest. And we've been that way since we went back to the state.
All Child and Family Services came back into the hands of the state in 2022. Her boss says uncertainty leads to turnover.
It's concerning in that anytime there's a transition, it can cause a disruption in the system. And it can cause folks who are working in the system to question, whether they want to continue or not.
Monica and Clarissa work for Nebraska's Foster Care Review Board.
We don't report to DHHS, we don't report to the courts, we don't report to the governor.
With a staff of 18 plus volunteer boards in every county, the watchdog boards review the cases of every child in foster care, relying on caseworker paperwork and documentation. How often is each child reviewed?
We try to review each child at least once a year.
With the most recent review,
you're putting out fires.
The board carefully scrutinized the cases of 1,991 children in foster care in Nebraska, with the fiscal year just ending this June. Of those cases, 35% had delays in permanency because of incomplete or sloppy documentation, and 141 children saw substantial delays, all of those in Douglas and Sarpy counties.
The knowledge does not get passed on. Sure. The judge probably doesn't get all the information that he or she needs. Services don't get referred.
So more than 100 children are lingering in foster care.
It's huge, especially when you are a youth in the system waiting to be done with the system.
The average child in care in Omaha right now will spend 590 days in a foster home. That's 19 months. And they'll have a new caseworker every 4 months. And with each new worker?
And once that worker is gone, you have to start again. And you start to close up and eventually say, just read the file.
Clarissa says underpaid, new to the field, and overwhelmed with caseloads, she believes workers can't get the documentation completed.
Foster parents feel frustration because there's no continuity. What they shared with the caseworker last month, the new caseworker doesn't know.
Forcing children to relive their trauma. Child caseworkers stay on the job for an average of 1.8 years nationwide, and change at the top can create instability.
Helping us listen and learn.
Nebraska's DHHS director is resigning. Researcher Heather Woods points out there's no permanent state director of child welfare, behavioral health, or communication.
You have different things like a change in governor, a change in CEO that's upcoming. You have changes in directors that puts a halt to some things. It doesn't put a halt to the day-to-day work, of course.
Still, every stakeholder we talked with is hopeful.
The pay scales are getting to where they need to be, are improving.
I do feel like we're being heard, but I think change is slow.
They know that progress is made by lifting up one child at a time.
It's not hard to love your kids, and I feel like I ended that generation of trauma or abuse.
I found more than 3% of caseworkers that quit every month. In addition, we've learned that more than 150 kids in the system have had 10 workers or more. You can read about Nebraska's child welfare struggle in my stories at KETV.com. Well, kids in multiple foster homes, kids removed from abusive families, they all experience trauma. Violence, neglect, abuse, it all has a lasting impact. And a Council Bluffs expert and mom is making it her mission to help parents recognize trauma in children and how it shapes their lives and behavior from a young age. Kara Higgins is a mom of 6 children, adopted, biological, fostered, and she's a certified nurse midwife, and she's also trained and experienced in understanding trauma in children and how to work through it. You're going to learn all about her family's global efforts to help orphans in Africa in a moment. But first, Kara is here to talk about trauma-informed care, and you're now offering classes and workshops to families who need it most.
I am. It took me a while to recognize that you don't always have to have a lot of degrees in something to become an expert in it, and families started reaching out to me on social media, texting me and messaging for help, and I started to realize that I had the experience to be able to equip other families and other caregivers. And so I began pursuing further education and training so that I could support those families the best way possible.
What is trauma?
So trauma is, I usually describe it, it's a lot like pain. It's different for all of us.
Okay.
And it starts with one experience. Maybe it's just one moment and it's impacted our emotions and how we respond to that moment or that experience. It can also be a chronic little thing that is happening to a child, to a young adult, even to grown-ups too.
Sure.
And it's how we emotionally respond to that difficult moment or that painful experience.
Right. Some people will say, oh, she was just a baby when that happened, or she was a toddler, she won't remember.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, and that's a really common misunderstanding. But we do know, we have science that tells us that even babies experience trauma in utero. So if their biological mother is experiencing chronic fear, chronic nutrition compromise, chronic stress, that is going to impact the baby. And after the baby's born, that we're going to see that impact how they respond to stress as well.
So it impacts their response, it impacts their behaviors.
It does, absolutely. And we see that even babies that we think, oh, they were placed with their family at birth, as they experience different seasons of their life, different moments developmentally, maybe the first time they fall in love, or the first time they have a loss, that might bring up feelings that they didn't even realize that they had, but they did have a loss early in life. Their very first relationship with their biological mother, that's a huge loss.
Do you help families to understand triggers and how to cope with behaviors?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we look at those behaviors as a communication tool, and seeing that behavior as that child is not giving me a hard time, they are having a hard time. And that's a very different way to approach that behavior.
They're not doing it to me.
No, they're having a hard time. And so what that behavior is telling me, what are they afraid of? What is their need in this moment? And then helping them relearn and recondition their upper brain to respond in new ways.
And so you're offering one-on-one counseling online, workshops. Yeah. Have you done any books yet?
I do have a dear friend helping me pursue that, but that's sort of on the back burner right now. Yeah, I have 10-week classes. My next one is exclusively online because I do have a pretty big community all over the country.
Nice.
And those are 10-week classes through Empowered to Connect, which is under the umbrella of TBRI, Trust-Based Relational Interventions, which is kind of the gold standard for children and young adults that have experienced loss or have experienced trauma. And so it's part of their program.
So if you're having trouble relating to the child or they're having behavior issues, it's good to look beyond the traditional counseling and think about where this behavior started.
Absolutely, and even something like a divorce and an amicable divorce, but a child that's flip-flopping between homes and the uncertain expectations, the inconsistent bedtimes, the inconsistent routines from two homes, that can even cause a lot of trauma for a child, and then you're going to see that in behaviors.
It's also probably taking the emotion out of it for the parent, right? Because you get frustrated, you get angry.
Yeah, and it just, for me, I always tell families, like, it just makes you have a tender heart toward that child.
Right.
And seeing that child is a child that's really having a hard time.
Aw.
Yeah.
I want to put up information for your workshops and your one-on-one counseling. It's called Wholehearted.
Yep.
Okay. Can we pull that up? Wholehearted, and the website is wholehearted-space.com. All right, stay right here because we're going to talk more. Next on Chronicle, we're seeing firsthand what it means to age out of foster care and how cutting these teens off from all services means that they are at higher risk of homelessness with nobody to turn to. We'll be right back.